We begin by praising Allah. We praise Him, we seek His help, and we ask for His forgiveness. And we take refuge with Allah from the evil of ourselves and from the evil consequence of our evil actions. Anyone whom Allah guides, no one can misguide. But anybody whom Allah leaves to go astray, no one can guide. And I testify that Allah alone is worthy of worship, and that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam is His servant and His messenger. Today I want to talk to you, my brothers and sisters, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy upon you. I want to talk to you about the mission of the prophets. The mission of the prophets. When I was thinking about this particular subject some years ago, I realized something really remarkable about the stories of the prophets that we find in the Quran. Really remarkable in respect to many of the things that you may think the stories of the prophets would be full of. They're just not there. Let me give you an example. Can anyone describe to me the night prayers of the prophets? In fact, can anyone tell me from the Quran, from any of the stories of the prophets in the Quran, about their night prayers? I mean, surely, most of us would agree that it's a sign of a good, righteous person that they pray in the last part of the night, right? Yet in all the stories of the prophets, think about it. Nuh, Ibrahim, Musa, Dawood, Sulaiman, Isa, Yahya, Lut. Think about their lives, think about their stories. I hope you're all familiar with them to some extent. You will find in the story of the prophets very little, if anything, about their prayers, the amount of their prayers, the manner of their prayers. You won't find anything much about their sadaqah. Think about it. You won't find much about their social work, their community work. Think about it. Think about the stories of the prophets. Think about Ibrahim alayhi salam. Think about all the story of him in the Quran. Musa, Nuh, Isa. I mean, today, brothers and sisters, if we were to ask you, be interesting if we did a survey today. What do you think a pious Muslim, describe to me a pious Muslim, how should he be? We'd say he'd come to the mosque 5 times a day, he'd have a beard, he'd wear a topi, right? He'd make lots of dhikr, pray tahajjud, fast Mondays and Thursdays, he'll read Quran, memorize Quran, maybe he's a hafiz of Quran, does sadaqah. It would be very interesting if we asked you to write down yourself. What do you think? But if we look to the stories of the prophets, let's start with Nuh alayhi salam. As far as I know, I'm happy to be corrected. I'm not saying the Quran does not say that he prayed, but there's no details of his prayer, his long night prayers, his dhikr, his sadaqah. He's looking up, and I'm not saying these things are not important. It's just the Quran doesn't talk about them. So, in respect to Nuh alayhi salam, what does the Quran talk about? Huh? Is the only brother here? Is there one who's got the courage to say it? Dawa. Virtually everything in that story about Nuh, one of the greatest and most pious and important human beings ever to live on this earth, the whole story in the Quran is about, but I am almost definitely sure if I made a list, you made a list of the characteristics of a pious Muslim, I doubt that most of you would have put Dawa on the list. I doubt it. Let's look at Musa. Let's look at Ibrahim next. Right? Yes, Ibrahim, he built the Kaaba. That's true. We have him building the Kaaba. That's true. We have something about how he honored his guests. You know the 3 angels that came? We have some details. He honored his guests. That's something. Okay, this is a bit different. Not just Dawa. But most of what we have in the story of Ibrahim, most of it, the vast majority of the story of Ibrahim is about what? Dawa. It's about his Dawa. Musa. Allah does say to Musa, keep your tongue busy, always remembering me. Something about dhikr. Something about dhikr. But still, most of the story about Musa is what? It's about what? It's about Dawa. If we look at the amazing story of Yusuf, this is a story, of course, really of someone who went through very many difficulties. Who went through many difficulties, many hardships at the hands of his own brothers. Subhanallah. But the core of the story of Yusuf, and it's one of the only full stories in the Quran, is still really a story about Dawa. Dawa in the prison, Dawa to Pharaoh, Dawa to his own brothers in reality. It's a story of Dawa. When we look at Isa, when we look at Yahya, these are stories of Dawa. And how could that not be the case? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He said in the Quran, وَلَقَدْ بَعَثْنَا فِي كُلِّ أُمَّةٍ رَسُولٍ أَن نَعْبُدَ اللَّهِ وَاجْتَنِبُ الطَّاغُوتَ. Though we did not send to any nation a messenger, except that he called the people أن نعبد الله, to worship Allah, وَاجْتَنِبُ الطَّاغُوتَ, and to reject the false gods. This is the reason why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He sent every messenger. The primary reason why Allah sent the prophets was to call the people to worship Allah alone, to single Him subhanahu wa ta'ala for worship, and to avoid the worship of the false gods. And this is why Allah sent His final messenger, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. His task, his job, his duty, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, was the same as every other prophet, to call the people away from the darkness of disbelief to the light of Iman, to call them away from shirk towards Tawheed, to call them, to invite them to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. Qul, Allah says in the Quran, قُلْ هَذِهِ سَبِيلِي عَبْدُ إِلَى اللَّهِ عَلَى بَصِيرَةٍ أَنَا وَمَنْ أَتَّبَعَانِي. Qul, say, O Muhammad. Allah is saying to Muhammad to say, قُلْ هَذِهِ سَبِيلِي. This is my way. This is my way. Addu Allah. I invite to Allah ala basira, upon certain knowledge. Ana, me, wa man attaba'ani, and those who follow me. Meaning, if you are making ittiba, if you are a follower of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, you must also Addu ilallah ala basira. You must also invite to Allah with certain knowledge. You must. This is the sabil of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Hadihi sabili. This is my way. If you are not giving dawah, you are not on the sabil of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Actually, you are lost. You're lost. You're a loser. What's the proof? Shaykh recited it in the Maghrib. Wal Asr. Innal insana lafi khusr. Innal insana lafi khusr. By time Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala He swore. Inna. This is an emphasis in Arabic. Innal insana lafi khusr. First Allah takes an oath. He swears. And He adds another emphasis. Inna, verily, definitely. Innal insana lafi khusr. They are lost. All of the human beings. Everybody is lost. You are lost. I am lost. Everybody is lost. In a state of loss. We're losers. And then Allah made an exception. What are the exceptions though? Illa alladhina amanu. People who have Iman. But Allah didn't leave it there. He didn't just say Iman. He added وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ. Although we know it's the aqidah of Ahlul Sunnah, that actually Iman and actions are two things that come together. But Allah is always mentioning Iman and righteous actions together to emphasize the importance. Iman is not just something you believe, you claim to have some intellectual understanding. It's something that manifests itself, that makes itself apparent in the way that you behave, in the things that you do. That is why there are certain things that if we don't do them, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he equated it with having no Iman. Wallahi, he is not a believer. Wallahi, he is not a believer. Wallahi, he is not a believer. The one whose belly is full while his neighbor is hungry. A believer could be a coward. A believer could be a miser. A believer could even drink alcohol and even steal. But a believer could not be a liar. A believer could not be a liar. This is some things the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he is telling us they are incompatible with Iman. This is why, because Amal and Iman, they come together. It must, if you truly believe in Allah, it will manifest itself, it will show itself in your actions. Right? It's actually simple common sense. It's not something very strange. إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ. Does the surah end there? No, it doesn't. There's still two more things. You have to have them if you don't want to be lost. إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ. And they join together in the teaching of truth. If we do not join together in teaching truth, we do not promote truth, we do not make amr bin ma'ruf wa nahy al munkar, we will be lost. Khusr. Wa tawasaw bis sabr. And that's another absolutely essential quality. Actually, there's a saying, I think is of Ali ibn Talib. He said that Iman, sabr is part of Iman. Actually, you will not achieve Iman, righteous actions, calling to truth, except with sabr. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, that you must enjoin what is right and forbid what is wrong, or else Allah will send upon you a calamity and you will make dua and it will not be accepted. Khusr. You'll be lost. If you do not enjoin the right and forbid the evil, Allah, not CIA, not CSIS, not the Illuminati Masonic conspiracy, all the things we like to blame, except ourselves. We want to blame everyone and everything for our problems as Muslims, except ourselves. Everything is the fault of somebody else. Some great big conspiracy, as if it wasn't there we would be fine. This is not the right understanding in Islam. Actually, the Quran teaches us that if you have Iman, the plotting and the planning of the non-Muslims, of whoever it is, your enemies, will hardly influence you and touch you at all. No. Our humiliation is because we have abandoned the guidance of Islam. And the humiliation is from none other except Allah. Because He loves us. He loves us. I know that may sound strange. It's not a contradiction, by the way. If Allah did not love us, He would just leave us to keep on being misguided. But when we leave His deen, when we leave the sunnah, when we do haram, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He sends upon us punishment. And He will not lift it from us until we come back to our deen. This is in your personal life, in your family life, in your community life, and as the whole ummah as a whole. If you want to look for solutions to our problems, the solution is simple. Ask yourself one of two things. Which sin have I started to commit, and which sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ have I abandoned? Just ask yourself that. Which sin have I started to commit, and which sunnah of the Prophet have I abandoned? Ask yourself that. Brothers, sisters, this ummah, when Allah gave this ummah victory, when Allah gave this ummah honor, when Allah gave this ummah status, when the people of the world looked to the Muslims for justice, the Muslims of those days were motivated. They were motivated by something very powerful, something very important. And I want to tell you one of my favorite stories. This is one of my favorite stories in Islamic history. I want to tell you the story of one companion, and we only know this companion from this story. As far as I know, we don't know anything else about him except from this story. And his name is Rabi'. And he's famous because he was sent to as the ambassador to the famous Persian general Rustam. The Muslims were fighting the Persians, and they were defeating the Persians. So Rustam, he wanted to meet the Muslims. He wanted to meet them. He wanted to discuss. So the Muslims, they sent Rabi'. He went. And the story is amazing. You know, the first thing in this story is, I want you to imagine this tent of Rustam. The tent of Rustam is so huge. I don't know how big it was. Probably, 4 times bigger than this mosque. Maybe like an acre or something like that. On this tent was a carpet, and the carpet, sewn into the carpet are precious stones. This is the carpet on the tent. At the end of the carpet is Rustam seated on a throne. But Rabi' comes barefoot, carrying his spear, digging his spear, into the carpet and he's walking, not even, just digging his spear, and he goes up to the front and he sits down right next to Rostrum. Sits down right next to him. So the soldiers, they pick him up, they throw him, because he's like a god. That these royal family, for them, literally, they believe they literally are descended from gods. They throw him down. So he picks himself up. He says, why did you do that? I said, I didn't come here of my own. You invited me. He says, we used to think that you Persians were an intelligent people. Now we can see you are very stupid, because some of you behave like lords over the other. Look how he's talking to him. He says, and so Rostrum says, what do you want? You invited me, what do you want? SubhanAllah. Look at this. So Rostrum, he says, why are you fighting us? What are you fighting us for? Do you want camels? You want sheep? You want wealth? You want women? What do you want? You tell us what we want, we will give it to you, and just go back to the desert where you came from. Then Rostrum says, Rabia says these amazing words. Amazing words. He says, we have come to take the people away from the worship of men to the worship of Allah. We have come to take the people away from the injustice of man-made religions to the justice of Islam. We have come to take people away from the narrowness of this life to the vast expanse of this life and the next. Then Rostrum says, are you the leader of these people? He thinks he's the Khalifa. He thinks are you the leader of these people? Look at him, look at him. Look at what he says. Look at his courage, his honor, his self-respect, his dignity. Are you the leader of these people? He says no. Are you the general of the army? He says no. He says, what are you then? He says, I am just an ordinary soldier from amongst the Muslims. Do you see why Allah gave the Sahaba honor? They had honor. They had self-respect. But most important, brothers and sisters, they didn't care about money. They were not fighting for land. They were not fighting for conquest. They didn't care. Look at him. He didn't even look at the carpet. He dug his spear in the carpet. He doesn't care about riches. He doesn't care about money and camels and sheep and women. They didn't care about any of that stuff, brothers and sisters. When Rostrum asks, why are you fighting us? He could have said, yeah, give us 10,000 sheep, 1,000, we'll go back with that. That sounds like a good bargain to me. He says, no. He's saying, we came to save people. We came to save humanity from injustice and oppression and falsehood and confusion. And you know what? He's saying, I'm ready, and all of us, we're ready to give up our lives, not for ourselves, but for the benefit of other human beings, to release them from your tyranny. That's why they had honor, brothers and sisters. It wasn't about them. It wasn't about themselves. And I want to tell you something else. We have no fatwa from Rabia. We have no hadith from him. We have no narrations from him. He was no scholar. He was no alim. He was no sheikh. He wasn't known for his... None of that stopped him giving dawah and speaking the truth. And he's just an ordinary soldier, yet out of his mouth came immortal words, being repeated by what? 1,400 years later, some I am sitting here saying in English, a language didn't even exist then, what he was saying then. Subhanallah, think about that. That's honor, brothers. That's honor, sisters. That's dignity. And the plots and plans against them were more than whatever you could imagine. We need to stop making pathetic excuses. We need to stop dreaming, and we need to wake up, and we need to see as a community where the blame lies. So I want to ask you, right? Let's go back now. Let's think about this now. The whole purpose of what the companions were doing, their reason for fighting jihad, was not because they thought Islam was all about fighting and killing. That's not what they thought. It was not about conquest. That was not the purpose. In reality, the purpose they understood was to open the way for people to know about La ilaha illallah. That's what it was for. Right? That's the truth. So now we don't have to look outside these walls. Let's just have a look at this community right here. Tell me about your Dawah projects to non-Muslims. I'd love to hear about it. Tell me about your non-Muslim Dawah projects. Please tell me.
2 days a year.
Well, we have done a little bit. Come on now.
A little bit.
None.
Wait a minute. The story of every prophet is about dawah. Not about tahajjud, not about dhikr, not about sadaqah, not about community cohesion. Do you think the prophets are the best of the human beings, yes or no?
Yes.
Is the Quran, what is it for? A book of fairy tales? What is it for? Are these stories of the prophets, are they not supposed to motivate us and inspire us to action? Yes or no?
Yes.
So what then? Where is it? Oh, we've got all of these problems in our community. Yeah, of course you have. Where's the deen? Where's the sabil of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam? هذه سبيلي عبد الله على بصيرة أنا ومن اتبعني. Where's the ittiba of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam? I'm not talking about something complex. This is the basics of Islam. But you know what? You know what we're Muslims we've become? It's hollow rituals. The Imam tells me, oh, I forgot my turban. They're not going to like it. So what? I said, who cares? What turban? What? Turban? Is Islam a turban? Islam a topi? I gave a talk, AbdurRaheem, I gave the khutbah without my hat. Okay, I know there's some ignorant people, I'm sorry to say, who think you have to wear a hat. I'm sorry to say this. Ignorant people who think you have to wear a hat to lead the prayer. It's ignorance. You do not. Show me a book of fiqh. I mean an ancient book of fiqh. Written by the early scholars of Islam. Anyone who says that it's compulsory. Show me. Abu Hanifa, Malik, Shafi, show me. Hanbali, show me. But you know what? It's rituals, brothers. It's rituals. Rituals. When you build your new mosque, please don't tell me you're going to put a dome and a minaret. Why? People are dying. Forget people are dying. Where's the dawah? And you want to build a dome and a minaret. Rituals. This is what we've become. Our religion has become rituals. We pray, we make the movements, we stand, we bow, we pray. I wonder how many people in this room can even tell me what it means. At-tahiyatu lillahi wa salawaitu wa tayyibatu. I wonder. And you wonder why your kids don't want to come and pray. They don't even know what all these words, they're saying all of these words, they don't know what it means. They're standing there. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil AlAmeen, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. They don't know what it means, they don't understand. Do you understand? I wonder if even you understand, let alone your kids. Do you know what it means? Just empty rituals. You know, there's a cult in the South Islands, in the Pacific South Islands. There's a religious cult. It's called the cargo cults, right? Let me tell you about these guys, right? In the Second World War, the Americans and the Japanese during the war, they were flying in supplies to these Pacific Islands because that's where the war was, right? And so these Pacific Islanders saw these airplanes coming, and jeeps came, and alcohol and chocolate and supplies and all of these things, right? They saw all of this stuff. So, and what did they see? They saw these airstrips being built and these control towers being built. And they thought, quite logically in some way I suppose, that these control towers and airstrips were the source of this wealth. So when they all disappeared, some guy, probably claiming he's a prophet or whatever, I don't know, he came along and he said, let's build some of these, airstrips, and we'll build some control towers. And they started making sort of mock-ups, and they thought that by doing this, the wealth was going to come. That's our Islam is like that now. We do the outside bits. We make the prayers, we fast the Ramadan, we make the Hajj, we pay the Zakah, but it's empty of meaning most of the time. It doesn't change us, it doesn't transform us. We have people still arguing about whether it's 8 rak'ah or 20 rak'ah for Ramadan. This is the saddest thing. The saddest thing is this. I don't know, I'm sure you have this exactly the same thing here. Exactly the same thing. Yeah? The elders in the community, they insist that Taraweeh prayers must not take more than 1.5 hours. Maybe 1 hour, 15 minutes or whatever. It's not allowed to take any longer than that. And they want to cram into that 1 hour, 15 minutes, 20 rak'ah. That's not all. They have to complete the whole Quran in the Taraweeh in the month of Ramadan. So this combination of things equals like an aerobics class with. And I remember asking some brothers, some Arab brothers, brother, can you tell me what Quran is reading? He said, I have no idea. I don't even understand. That's Islam? Is that Islam? Is that what prayer is supposed to be? Is that what you're supposed to do to the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Wallahi, wallahi. It is better you pray 2 rak'ah with khushu' and take your time and you feel Allah and you remember Allah than you pray 100 rak'ah like that. This is not prayer. This is, you're nothing but a cargo cult. You got the empty, you cut the airstrips, you put the things, it's all fake. You think it looks like an airstrip, it looks like a control tower, it looks like a jeep, it looks like an aeroplane, if you look from it back far enough, but it's just fake. That's our Islam. Because I tell you, if you were really Muslims, you would be giving Dawah. Every one of you, Dawah would be part of every one of your life. If it's not, I don't really think I'm not calling you a kafir, but I'm telling you, I don't really think you're a Muslim. I don't think you're a Muslim. I don't think you love Allah. I don't think you love His deen. I don't think you love the Prophet sallallahu. You say you love the Prophet, you don't love the Prophet. You don't love him sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he was stoned. He bled. The sandals were sticking to his feet. He was beaten up because he wanted to call the people to La ilaha illallah. And you say you love the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. You're liars. If you loved him, you would love what he loved. You would love that the people know what is La ilaha illallah. Islam is not these empty rituals. That's not Islam. Wallahi, anybody who loves something, anybody, any pervert, even a pervert who loves some filth, they love to spread their filth. Yeah, it's true. Any pervert who loves filth, they love to spread their filth. But we love something pure, we love something good, we claim to. No, if you really love something, brothers, if you really love something, sisters, you will not be able, this is a truth, this is the truth. If you love something, you can't hold yourself back. In fact, you know what? You might even feel a little bit embarrassed about how stupid you make yourself looking sometimes, just telling everybody about how much you love this thing. You couldn't keep quiet. You couldn't if you love it. If you love the Prophet ﷺ, you won't be able to stop yourself telling people about it. If you love Allah, you will not be able to stop yourself telling people about Allah. If you love Islam, you will not be able to stop yourself telling people about how beautiful Islam is. You know, that's the Sahaba. They couldn't stop themselves, brothers and sisters. They could not stop themselves. Umar ibn al-Khattab, he couldn't stop himself. When he became Muslim, what did he do? What did he do? Yeah, he went into Mecca and he couldn't stop himself. He said, every place where I challenged Islam, I'm now going to call people to Islam. He was beaten up. He couldn't stop himself though. He couldn't stop himself. That's how much he loved Islam. And it's not just he loved Islam, he just wanted everyone else to be Muslim too. That's what he wanted. He just wanted for everybody what he loved. That's it. That's what it means. You love for others what you love for yourself. This is the absolute core. This is the core of the human side of being a Muslim. It's basic. To love for everybody, not just your Muslim brothers, but for everyone, to love them, for them the good which you love for yourself. Brothers, sisters, you know, we have to wake up. If we don't wake up, Allah will wake us up. You know what? I tell you what. You know what has kept me going? For 27 years I've been Muslim, and since I've been Muslim I've been giving Dawah. Almost since I became Muslim, within the first, I don't know, however it was, very soon after it I started giving it. Actually straight away, to my parents. Straight away I started inviting people to Islam. And I've been doing it for 27 years. And you know what? And it's, you know what, I will tell you, it's not easy. I've suffered. I've suffered physically, I've suffered financially, I've suffered mentally. Alhamdulillah, I'm not complaining. You know, I made myself suffer. I did it. I made myself suffer. I pushed myself. You know what I said to myself? I'd rather I make myself suffer than Allah makes me suffer because I've neglected my duties. Because I know that's what's going to happen. If I don't make the effort that I need to make, Allah will make me suffer. Allah will send upon me calamities and disasters and difficulties. That's the reality. It's the reality, brothers. Allah in the Quran, He says, وَلْتُكُمْ مِنْكُمْ أُمَّةً يَدْعُونَ إِلَى الْخَيْرِ وَلْتُكُمْ مِنْكُمْ أُمَّةٌ. Let there arise from you a group of people, يَدْعُونَ إِلَى الْخَيْرِ, inviting to all that is good. يَأْمَرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَيَنْحَوْنَ إِلَى الْمُنْكَرِ. They enjoin what is right and they forbid what is wrong. وَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمْ مُفْلِحُونَ. And those are going to be the successful ones. It's not just enough just for you and me and just to go out and give Dawah. Even if we all were doing that and you were all giving Dawah and talking to your neighbors and talking to your work colleagues and people you meet in the bus and on the wherever it is, you're just talking to them about Islam. Even if you all did that, it would not be enough. You actually need to get together and be organized and have a group who are going to be dedicated to doing this in an organized way. It's Fard al-Kifaya. Dawah demands more than just individual efforts. We need to organize it as a group. We need people who are, actually really we need people who are specialized as well. Because we will meet people We'll come across many people these days who are trained to confuse us. And I'm saying 90% of the time you talk to someone, you don't believe me, you don't need any special knowledge. Just a little bit of training, a little bit of knowledge, a little bit of stuff. بَلِّغُ عَنِّي وَاللَّهِ بَلِّغُ عَنِّي وَاللَّهِ. Convey from me, even if it is one ayah. If you know one ayah and you understand it, pass it on. You don't know. Maybe the one who hears it understands it even better than you. But sometimes we're going to encounter situations we need specialist knowledge. That means we need people to be trained, to be dedicated, to be committed. The Dawah needs materials. The Dawah needs all of these things. And that's something we realized, brothers and sisters. We realized many years ago that the Dawah is really lacking. You know, we publish a little leaflet here, we print out something on, photo, remember photo, you still have photocopiers, things of photocopy, spelling mistakes, and looks atrocious. I mean, we're living in the age of design where everything is designed to, maybe not in Canada so much, but everything is designed to perfection. Right? If it looks bad, people they won't even give it a second glance. We can't afford to produce trashy Dawah materials. It makes our deen look trashy. Things need to be slick. They need to look good. They need to be appealing. Doesn't our religion deserve that? Right? Doesn't our religion deserve that? Doesn't our religion deserve that the most amazing minds, the most intellectual and the most clever and the most capable people represent our deen? Unfortunately, it's not like that. Because you want your kids to be doctors and engineers and lawyers. You don't want them to be du'at. And actually, most of the people, even if they would like it, they wouldn't even look at it because there's no career in that. How do I feed my family as a da'i? I can tell you, after 27 years, it's pretty tough. I've had people in the past negotiating with me. I said, my train ticket to come and give this talk in the university is going to cost 130 quid. They said, we can give you 80. Well, how do you want me to live? What do you think, da'is? What do you think we do? We breathe and Bismillah, and that's how we and our families are sustained, through Bismillah and breathing air, maybe? Yeah? This is our attitude. The Christians, you need to study what these people have been up to for hundreds of years, even today. I mean, we've been studying one Christian organization. It's called Cru now. It used to be called Campus Crusade for Christ. They have just this one organization has 150,000 full-time, full-paid missionaries. These guys have proper jobs. They are paid full-time. That's all they have to do with their time. Be missionaries. 250,000 volunteers. Do you know how much money they raised last year? Take a guess. Take a guess how much money this one organization raised last year. $670 million US. And this is not for poor people. This is not to help poor people. This is not to feed. None of this money, by the way, is used for charity work. This is pure missionary. This is money they spend trying to convert people to Christianity. They collect money on top of that for poor people and for schools and for all the other stuff. That's just that. And to give you an idea, what they raised for their charity work was $80 million US. 670, 80. And it's working. It's working. They're converting us to Christianity. Yeah. Indonesia. Used to be 90 in 1960 something 7. It was 95, 98% Muslim. Now it's 82% Muslim. And most of that rest of percentage are people who have converted to Christianity. And what are we doing? What are we doing, brothers? What are we doing, sisters? So I'm not even going to be shy. Then I'm going to say, we need your money. We need lots of money. I want to see Muslim Dawah organizations outdoing the likes of Campus Crusades for Christ. I want you to seriously be able to think and to say, when you look at your kids, it's not, this is how it is now, right? You're the smartest one, you become a doctor. You're not quite so smart, you become an engineer. You, bitte, bichara, right? Not so smart, you go to AlAmeen and you become an Imam. Yeah? Right? That's the respect we give to the deen. It's like, subhanAllah, what is that? But I can understand it on a level, I can understand it. Because you know what? Being a da'i and imam, it's not much of a career path, is it really? And it's not about it being a career. If we want the best people, we should make it, I'm not saying we give them the best salaries, but at least make it an alternative. Make it something viable. This is Zakir Naik. This is one of the things I love Zakir Naik. May Allah bless him. This man is a revolution. On many different levels. He said to me, AbdurRaheem, when we ask someone to work with us, we say, what are you earning, brother? You're a doctor, you're earning how much? Okay, we're going to give you 10% more than what you're earning to come and work with us. Right? When he goes home and he says, Mum, I've given up being a doctor, I'm now working as a da'i. What? How will we live? No, don't worry. They're paying me 10% more. MashaAllah. Alhamdulillah. May Allah bless. Yeah, seriously. We laugh, but Zakir Naik, he's a very clever man. He understands people. He knows what this deen needs. That's why he can accomplish amazing things with his Peace TV. Amazing things. He knows. He's got the smartest and the best people working for him. And these people are dedicated. He says to them, you're going to work harder than you did when you were a doctor. But they don't mind, because these are people, he knows they want to work for the Dawah, but they shouldn't have to suffer because of that. It has to be like that, brothers. We can't continue the way we are as a community. We can't give this thing, look, imagine you're a non-Muslim, right? And you're looking at the Muslim community. And looking at the Muslim community, you're trying to figure out, let me figure out what, the main themes of the Quran are. Right? And I'm going to figure it out by looking at the Muslims. Right? I would say that probably the first thing that they would say is that maybe 60% of the Quran must be about halal meats. Halal. Something to do with food and halal. Yeah. That must be like a big part of their religion. Halal meat. Even I was sitting today with one of the brothers. I was saying, I live in this small town in the middle of the countryside. He said, how about halal meat, brother? Where'd you get your halal meat? Right. But it's true. Yeah? Okay? Would they really look at us and say, you know what? These Muslims, they are obsessed. They want to tell us, all they want to do is tell us about their religion. They're just so desperate for us to become Muslim. Is that what they say? They should be saying that. Like, what would you say about the Jehovah's Witnesses? Tell me what you say about them. You know what a Jehovah's Witnesses said to a Muslim brother once? He said, you know why your religion is not the true religion? You're a liar. your religion and you know it's not the true religion. He said if your religion was true, you would be knocking on everybody's doors and you'd be telling them about it. That's what he said. And he was right. Not that Islam is not the true religion. He was right what he said to that brother. Because really, if you really believed Islam was the true religion, right? And that's what I said. That's what I said to my aunt. Oh, you were pestering your father at his bedside to get him to become Muslim. Yeah, sure, I was. Absolutely. Because you know what? If he doesn't become Muslim, he's going to go to hell. Alhamdulillah, he became Muslim, he didn't. If you really believe in your religion, why weren't you at his bedside? Why weren't you there trying to convert him to your religion? I didn't say it quite like that. But she's my aunt, right? I have to tell people that because sometimes people think, you really talk to your aunt like that? So brothers and sisters, do we really believe in this deen? Do we really believe in Allah? Do we really love Allah? Do we really love Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam? Do we really love Islam? Do we really understand what is the message of the Quran? I have one final question for you. The final question I have for you is, who is the last messenger? Huh? You don't sound like you're really convinced. Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Prophet Muhammad ibn Abdullah, yeah?
That's correct, yes.
Who lived 1,400 years ago, right? About. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Not Elijah Muhammad, right? Okay, not Ghulam Mirza Ahmed, yeah? Alhamdulillah, I'm in the right type of place, yeah? So the final Khatam al-Nabiyyin, he is the seal of the messengers, Prophet Muhammad. There's not going to be another prophet after Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Yes or no?
Yes.
Right. And since the job of all the messengers is to call the people to La ilaha illallah, to single out Allah for worship, and Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he's the last messenger, who does the job of the messengers fall upon now? Us. Us, the Muslims. It falls upon us, brothers. It falls upon us. It's our job. Dawah is our job, individually and collectively. So, brothers and sisters, I just want to get something really clear in your minds, right? When you go away today, and everyone asks you, what did AbdurRaheem talk about? What did I talk about? Dawah. Alhamdulillah. Dawah. I talked about Dawah. Is that going to happen, Sheikh? We're going to help you do it, right? Is that going to happen, brothers and sisters? Yes or no? Yeah. Are you going to lead the way in Canada, and people are going to talk about your masjid, and they're going to say, these are the Dawah guys? Yeah? Inshallah. At least make the intention. Wallahi, make the strong intention. Dawah is going to be a huge part of what we do as a community. Why? Because that's the sabil of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's the way of all of the prophets. And that is something that's going to uplift you individually and collectively. May Allah bless all of you so much. Jazakallah khair for putting up with me and my ranting and my raving. You can see I'm very passionate about this subject. So forgive me if I said anything that's going to upset any one of you, right? And please forgive me. Okay, if I said anything wrong, it's from myself, my own weakness, or from shaitan, confuse me. Anything good I said is just from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So please accept the good from me. Forgive me for the bad I said. May Allah bless all of you. It's been a real pleasure spending this time with you here in Toronto. Jazakallah khair. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Takbir!